Here we are, guys. It is Thursday. This is live. We had a disruption here, so sorry, everybody. Let's see if anybody can come back on and give me some more questions. What are we going to talk about in the meantime here so people can try to come back on? Um, Pants. So something we talk about a lot. Pants. I was wearing 511 Defender Flex for a long time, and those pants were great, but the quality of them has suffered recently. I've ripped about 8 pairs in the legs in the last year. We're moving towards another company. Let me pull them up. These are from Off Grid. They are the Trailblazer 5.0 pants. I also ripped a pair of these in London. I bought a pair of pants and they felt like they were going to work because they have a full gusset in the crotch for fast movement and everything that I do. But they ripped on the first day of our London seminar, I think. Same spot as the 511s. My legs are too big. So I ordered a pair. I ordered some that are way bigger in the waist, and they actually fit my legs. The 36 by 36 were like almost skin tight, but I thought that they were going to work because of the gusset. The 38s are massive in the waist, but they fit in the legs. So it's going to require tailoring to make that work. But I like these types of pockets like the 511s because they are 9-pocket design instead of a 5-pocket design. There's a secondary pocket in the back above your glute pocket that's really designed for AR mags, but you can shove things like phones and stuff down in there and not sit on them. But these Trailblazers from Off Grid have the same basic design, and they have a full gusset in them, which is what the 511 always lacked. But we'll see if they survive. The other best pant that's out there currently is the Carhartt Relaxed Fit Double Knee. You will see that there is a secondary pocket inside the back pocket. It's not like an AR pocket, but it fills the same thing. The problem is they don't come in black, but they also have a full gusset in them and they fit my legs, which is great. I tend not to do a lot of excessive leg work because my legs are already huge from years of Shaolin Kung Fu and of club swinging and of kettlebell swinging. So finding pants that actually fit your legs is a real problem. Those are the two best that I found right now. The Carhartt double knee canvas pant, and they do require some tailoring at the bottom of the leg because they are kind of a wide straight leg and they just look sloppy. And these off-grid pants, I put on a new pair of them today and they're way too big. You have to put on a belt, but they fit my legs. So we're going to have to tailor the top and probably tailor the bottom of them. But if you work out a lot, tailoring becomes something you absolutely should know how to do. And you should have a sewing kit in your bag. That's also something that's in my bag is always a sewing kit. You should be tailoring your button-down shirts, all of them. And you should you're probably going to have to start tailoring your pants, especially the more you kettlebell. My glutes barely fit in pants, and I've had to tone it down quite a bit over the years because when I was doing Kung Fu all the time, I was ripping pants left, right, and center. You get something that fits you even large in the waist, and you'll still shred legs. Good. We are back with questions. People have come back on. Sorry, people, for getting kicked off. I think we were at nearly 400 and we're down to 34 now. That is my footer tech out here. And we're not really far from stuff. There's a university close to this. So we should be able to get really good service, and we simply do not. Nerd math, how to heavy light the clean and press. I got this question yesterday, and it's a great question. And if you look at the Clean and Press program, you'll see that there are like 200 pages devoted to heavy lighting the Clean and Press. Can't make the math work with heavy being 60, 80% of light. No, can't make the math work with heavy being 60 to 80% of light. No, light is 60 to 80% of heavy. Your general rules for heavy light. Your heavy day should have 60% approximately of the work capacity of your light day. Your light day should have more work capacity and your heavy day should have less. The math is not perfect on that because you're not barbelling. It can be a lot more perfect now with the Wildman adjustable bell because we go from 2K jumps to 1K jumps to half K jumps. So getting you can get your math way closer. There's a reason that I work on the equipment that I work on because all of these ideas interlink. But your heavy light, there are hundreds of pages in the clean and press program on heavy light. But think of that. Think of your heavy as being 60% of the work capacity of your light day, 60 to 80%. That math should work out very easily if you have the equipment. If you're running on fixed weights like 16, 24, 32K, that changes entirely. And there's whole pages and sections in the program dedicated to that, like massive programs with graphs and everything else. It's all there. You just have to thumb through it and look for it. Marathon question. Would you pick a starting point of shorter time frame and intermediate weight, 10 plus minutes, 20 kilogram, or longer time and lighter weight for a marathon beginner? Lighter weight, way lighter weight. The whole point of the adjustable kettlebell and stuff like that is so that people can actually start to marathon. You need your good technique. You have to do your swing program. You absolutely have to do your clean and press program. You should not be starting marathoning until you can do your clean and press program with a 24K, because you need to cut that weight in half and go to 12K before you start marathoning. You do not have a 24K clean and press program and start to marathon that way. That is how you die. Think about it. Clean and press program, your max time under load is what? 2.5, 3.5 minutes. Marathoning, you're starting at 8 minutes without putting the weight down. You need to cut your weights in half to do that. Lighter weight and build up to minimum 30 minutes. And then with the Wildman kettlebell, you can take it up in little tiny increments. That's why the kettlebell is there. It's specifically to solve the problem of bringing everybody in the world up to the point where they cannot put down a 24K for 30 minutes. Years at the beginning of COVID, I thought that was a very hard thing. But having worked on it now for 3 years, if I don't work out for weeks, I can pick up a 24K and do 20, 30 minutes. It's difficult. It never gets easy. That's kind of the point of marathoning, is that it's always hard, but you should be able to do it at the drop of a hat, especially 20 minutes. The point of 30 minutes being there is that 20 minutes becomes 66% of your max. So 20 minutes starts to become an easy time frame by doing 30 minutes. The point of doing 60 minutes is that half of that 30 minutes starts to become an easy time frame. You have to overtrain for your goals with everything. We had this discussion with somebody yesterday on Instagram about this. He's trying to get up to 5 minutes of single arm shield cast with a 12K, but the heaviest weight he has is 12K. The odds of him succeeding in that are super low. The advice that I gave him was you have to train with the 14, that you have to train with the 16. And if you can train with an 18, good. You need to do that because the 12K has to be a light medium weight before you can learn to endure for those extremely long periods of time. The point of all of the programs of Bells of the Basis of Strength program is that if you build up to 50 pounds, 25-pound club becomes light forever. It's neurologically programmed. 25 pounds becomes okay forever. You've altered your brain and your body and your tendons and your ligaments to the point where your 50% is really what we're looking for. We're trying to permanently alter people's 50%. When I started clubbing, I worked with a 15 for years and a 20 and a 25. I did not start to really figure out what I was doing until I single armed the 35 and single armed the 45, because your technique has to get perfect and you were drastically overtraining so that the 25 become something that's very manageable forever. The 8X system is specifically designed so that anybody can get up. Any man can get up into the 50-pound range. Any female can get up into the 25, 30-pound range, depending on frame size, so that your 50% weight becomes an absolute permanent adaptation that you cannot forget. Great questions, guys. Arman Fuladvand. I love the names. Program question. I have double kettlebell and I want to bulk. Besides double clean and press and double squat, what should I do? All monster lifts. If you really want to bulk, basis of strength program is the easiest way to bulk. By far, the easiest way to bulk is the basis of strength program pushed into the 50-pound range. You should accidentally add 25 pounds of muscle doing that. Accidentally, because there's no way out of the program. It is a hard gainer program, and you will end up with a ton of extra muscle in your glutes, in your abs, and certainly in your arms. Double kettlebell program becomes very much like a barbell program, but with much better dynamics. It should be harder to hurt yourself with double kettlebell program if you are paying attention to all the coaching cues and actually hitting the correct ranges of movement. If you shortcut it, if you only squat to 90 degrees or something, then your odds of hurting yourself skyrocket. If you want to bulk, you have your double clean and press. You have all of your variations. So your monster lift. So you have 5 things that you can put together in order to create the monster lifts: swing, clean, press, snatch, squat. You can write a massive program in order to do that. Combine those things in different ways, focus on 3 to 5 reps, and start crushing your weights up. The problem with kettlebells is that, like, your standard a heavy kettlebell weight is double 32, and you can definitely bulk with that. But kettlebells are really designed for endurance weightlifting. Um, so a really simple bulking program would be a basis of strength program, then a double kettlebell monster lift program, 2 days a week of one, 2 days a week of the other. And that would solve the problem in extremely short order. The problem with double kettlebell programs is that most people do not spend the time working on their technique and making sure that their hip hinge and their squat is really good. The point of the double kettlebell is there's no way out of that. You have to get good at that. And then you would, if you wanted to get really bulky up top, then you would throw in an additional 2 days a week of pure chest, which could be a light dumbbell program and a push-up program combined together. Your global system, basis of strength, heavy club training, double kettlebell monster lift, 2 days a week of chest, which trains those muscles to max. The problem with kettlebells and mace, the kettlebells and clubs, is that your chest is really a supporting architecture. Getting the real movie muscle chest requires you to train the chest to failure, which is very hard to do with kettlebells and clubs because they're levers and because they're skills. If you train to failure, you tend to get hurt. So you sub-maximally train club, jack up the weight, sub-maximally train the double kettlebell so that you don't get hurt, and then you train to failure the chest twice a week. Two basis of strength, 2 double kettlebell, 2 chest to failure is an excellent way to get sexy and bulky in short period of time. Chris's music channel question: loved the knee stability video that you just uploaded. We shot that in Scotland. That's one of those videos I found. Did not have the best lighting, but we did what we could with it, and was wondering if the overlap with Ben Patrick knees over toe guys is coincidental or by accident. I got to be honest, I've never watched one of Ben Patrick knees over toes guys videos. I've had him recommended a ton, but I just haven't watched them. I just haven't had time. It's coincidental. It's coincidental. I think about knees all the time because I've been stupid hurt in my life. And I'm not supposed to do all this stuff that I do. So I know a lot about knee stuff. Somebody asked me to make a knee video, and I just happened to think about it that day. And I said, yeah, let's knock out one of my favorite knee video exercises. but people have asked me to turn that into a whole knee series. So yeah, why not? We can turn it into a whole knee series. I mean, I did 10 years of physical therapy for knees. I know a lot about the topic. So yeah, it is coincidental that it is overlapping. I don't think that anybody who's been seriously injured doesn't know about knees. Knee injury is one of the major things that's out there. And I always approached my knee rehab from a martial arts perspective. Clubs drag you out of center line. The more you do them from one leg, and then the step down, not the step up, is probably one of the most important things that I've ever done for knee rehab for getting rid of pain. Slamming those two ideas together just seems like a logical conclusion. I don't know if knees over toes guy does any clubs or anything like that or mace, but it should definitely be in there. You can turn all of the kettlebell club and mace stuff into knee rehab. We just tend not to talk about it that much because it's kind of more of a niche thing. Should I make videos on that? I mean, maybe I'll just make a whole knee playlist. If I get around to it, I can write it blindfolded. It's just a matter of getting it shot. Yeah, so it was coincidental, but yeah, it's something I know a lot about. Clint Engel, firearm question. Interesting. Hey, Mark, I found a profile for you online that said you had center axis relock training. True. Do you think that the card system is legitimate compared to other shooting techniques? Absolutely. Anybody who tells you otherwise is a jackass. I will defend this one forever. I'll die on this hill. Normal gun guys hate center axis relock, but they're not looking at the point of center axis relock. If you watch John Wick movie 1, the whole thing is center axis relock. The whole thing. Watch the scene in the Russian bathhouse, turning corners this way. Yes, I am a certified instructor in that. Let's talk about center axis relock and how it differs from other styles of shooting. So John Wick 2, 3, and 4 stopped using center axis relock, and they do a really weird version of it, which looks like this when he turns corners, and that's something that I am not a fan of. So if you think about modern gunfighting, I think about this stuff a lot because movies. I work in movies. The first thing that you see actors do when they don't know anything about guns is you will see them hold the gun improperly, and that manifests. Do I have a training gun right here? Let me see if there's a training gun right here, and we can talk about this in a hyper specific way. Let me move this huge pile of knives. And see if I can't get into this box. I think that this is this is a bunch of movie gun training stuff. There's a whole box of it right here, I think. Armor. Here we go. Glock airsoft training gun. This is something that they would have used in something like John Wick. In the first movie, they used a lot of airsoft gun, but from Glock itself, functions like a real gun so that you can mag change, run your slides, and do everything in practice for a small amount of money without a range. Excellent way to train, something that all actors should know how to do, and every person should know how to do, especially if you are interested in any way in defense. Doesn't do you any good to not know about modern weapons. Modern weapons are guns, staffs, bats, machetes. Those are the things that you're most likely to encounter. So you should know all of those things, and you should do legitimate training with them. The first thing that you'll see if an actor doesn't know how to, hasn't been trained, is you'll see a gap right here. And you'll see this on camera, and you'll see this stuff here, right? This gap in the back, which means that the gun wouldn't cycle because the axis relock on recoil would cause the gun to jam every time. So first thing that you're looking for is high web at the top of the hand. People need to know how to be able to reload. without looking at the gun, doing all their other basic manipulations. The difference, now let's get to the important part here, the difference. Center axis relock, let's see if we can't tip this down a little bit, is based on this position. You will recognize this from mace and club swinging, and it comes up to this thing here, this position. When you see a real center axis relock guy, you will see a flat wrist here and a flat wrist here, and you will see thumb to thumb in the back. And this is so that the gun can be transferred from side to side through a series of different things. This does something very unique in the distance that center axis relock is meant to do, which is 6 feet and under. 6 feet is the height of a person. 93% of firearms engagements happen inside that distance. When you push a gun straight out in front, then for defense, to you taking a gun away from somebody, you have to make up that distance. Anybody who does Krav Maga will know about taking guns away from people. Try taking a gun away from somebody who's holding it like this. It doesn't work because they can pull it back to their body, and center axis relock guys train this way so that they can retain a gun and still shoot by pointing with their body. Does it work? Absolutely. If you put it into force on force scenarios, it definitely works. The stuff that you see in other stuff is pressed out in different ways, and you might have isosceles, you might have weaver, which are different types of foot and arm positions. You might have different things with different types of styles. But center axis relock works very well for one thing: shooting over your shoulder and turning corners. Turning corners allows people to bring the gun out before the rest of their body, so they don't turn out and move their whole body out. So the gun comes out, the eye comes out, and it's a very good thing to do. It's really designed for shooting inside of vehicles, shooting over your shoulder, behind you, out the back of your car, and transitioning to the other side to shoot out the other side, right? So all of these things are things that you should think about in defensive martial arts and in movie stuff. Center axis relock relies on structural principles the same way that mace and club do. You'll notice that structure is order position with a heavy club or with a mace, and then we're moving through it. So we're moving through shield cast. Where's the shield? Where's my, oh, one moment. Right there and there. It is the same position with heavy club swinging that it is. So center axis relock is a biomechanical way of holding a gun for the use of self-defense that keeps people from taking it away from you, helps you use it in grappling, helps you turn corners, and helps you minimize your exposure. It's fantastic for short distances and inside confined spaces. Does it work great for long distance 50-yard shots? Not really. Something else that's really unique about center axis relock is focal eye length. So once again, training gun, focal eye length. When you're looking through the sights of a gun, you can either see the sight or the target because of the way that your eye focuses. It can't focus on something far and something close to you at the same time. What you do in center axis relock is you draw the gun back until you can put it inside the focal distance of your eye so that you can see a target and your sights clearly at the same time, and especially in low light. I could talk about this all day. Paul Castle was the guy who invented this. And it's from biological principles, it is super duper sound. And for shooting out of moving cars or something, it is amazing. For shooting off of motorcycles, it's amazing. For shooting off of horses at something behind you, it's amazing. Think of it very similar to like mounted Mongolian archery for shooting behind you. It's the same principle as that. Yeah. So everybody who deals with modern martial arts should probably know some version of that, because it does make guns extremely hard to take away from you, and it turns all Krav Maga gun takeaway techniques all vanish. The only thing you can do when you go into force on force training, if somebody pulls back into that, is go to the inside and slam the gun into their chest and press it into their chest. The problem with that is they can rotate away from it and bring the gun back online. And if you train with airsoft or um, um, wax bullets, what am I thinking of? What do they call them? UPMs? No. Wax bullets to shoot out a real gun. So you train with, like, if you're training force on force with, like, military guys or Navy SEALs are doing room clearing. That's the expensive way of doing the airsoft thing. If you do force on force training with that and full armor with face masks and everything else, so nobody gets blinded, you'll figure out very quickly that the core concept of weapon retention and center access works. It works. Does it work great for other stuff? No. Does it work great for short turning corners on both sides equally? Absolutely. People will fight about turning corners forever, and everybody has a different style based on their experience and based on what they're doing. Some guys change shoulders for barrier stuff. Some guys do not. Some guys hate it. I have done a lot of training with center axis, so I am comfortable with it. But the first thing you'll see, I'm going to pick this up again, is when people don't know what they're doing, you'll start to see this. And that is an adaptation because they want to go back and forth between this and this. You'll see that in John Wick 2, 3, and 4 as well. That is a modification. I just prefer John Wick 1 because it was much more pure to the style. You'll notice that they don't change hands as a lot going in further into the John Wick movies, whereas you'll see corner turning with hand changes in John Wick 1. Clint Engel, yes. Car system is mocked a lot. Yeah, by people who don't know what they're doing, who don't understand it. And other scenarios where it's useful. 100%. I can think of 1,000. It's training that I think anybody who's doing modern self-defense should have. People probably in Europe aren't going to encounter that, but people in North America can get that training. I could run whole seminars on it myself. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll make full armor gun defense a seminar. I could do that. We have most of the equipment for it. We use full suits of Spartan training armor that are rated for the wax bullets. So airsoft is nothing for that. I could talk about that all day. Don't let me get too wrapped up in that stuff because that's all movie stuff and movement stuff. Actors should definitely know. You see it in a lot of stuff now. People trash talk it, but it ends up in a lot of programming because it looks cool and it works. Program question: when Tetrising a new program, how do you determine where it fits? What's the criteria for saying the new program shouldn't be done in the same day with another program? So YouTube punk. I've been saying Utube punk because I was pulling a word from Archer from like season 1, but I think it's YouTube punk. So let's answer that. Let me read that again. When Tetrising a new program, how do you determine where it fits? You try not to do like with like. So you wouldn't do mace and heavy club in the same day. You wouldn't do trap bar and kettlebell in the same day. You would do kettlebell swing program with basis of strength because they are fairly different and they have different weight loads. You would do kettlebells with mace, but you would not do mace with club, and you would not do barbell with kettlebell for the most part. You could, but you try not to put like with like is the simplest way to put it, and you try not to put heavy with heavy, and you try not to put long with long. So that's the simplest way to think about it. Respect the geekdom. Great name. They like the ideas on the continuous exercise, 10 minutes of continuous exercise. This is something that I advocate for a lot. The basics of endurance is the unification of structure, breathing, and movement. So you should be able to do club mills for 10 minutes without stopping. Bare minimum basic movement requirement, 10 minutes of Mace 360s, 10 minutes of kettlebell swings, 10 minutes of long cycle. What are some exercises you have done this protocol with, and what gave you awesome results? All the ones I just mentioned. The first one I ever did this with was heavy club mills, which everybody who watches this channel should know. Near side ear pass. That one gave me the absolute most benefit. I mean, I got monstrously shredded when I started doing that with 15 pounds, and when I moved to 20 pounds and 25 pounds. The 25 was very hard because the jump between 15, 20, and 25, those are, you really need 2.5 pound jumps. Otherwise, most people probably aren't going to make it. With 2.5, 1.25 pound jumps, I think everybody can do it because you get way more training cycles for the adaptation. That got me an incredible amount of adaptation. Like 2015, I was working on a movie and I was just monstrously shredded from doing that. I still do it now, but I'm much more interested in efficiency now than I used to be. Because COVID pushed me into endurance more and more. Question. Zeus. Zeus is overweight but training, 323 pounds. Monday, Thursday is swings. Tuesday, Friday is cleans and squats with 16K. The question is, what can you add on swing day? You can add a get-up program. The whole point of the early phases of the Turkish Get Up Master Program is that they are fairly simple movements that start to move people into half kneeling positions, halfway between standing and sitting. If your body is too big around still for that to work, although you are doing cleans and squats with a 16K, then moving that to a half kneeling position may be an option. The other thing that you would put on swing day would be Mace 360s or the Basis of Strength program. The Basis of Strength program is mostly probably the most bang for your buck with anything because you will focus on restoring the most movement. Swinging clubs this way also tends to work well for people who are larger than they would like to be, because people tend to be able to work around the size of their body. Same thing is true. Mace 360s will fill that need as well, but the improvement may not be as dramatic, but you may be able to go up in weight way faster, which may burn more calories, which may build your structure. So the question is, what equipment do you have and what equipment can you use? If you have lighter kettlebells, it could be get-ups. If you have maces are cheap, right? A 5, 7, and 10 pound mace might cost you $70 total on Amazon with free shipping. An 8X club is more money, but gives you way more training in the long run. So these are all the questions that you have to ask. The most beneficial one would be the Basis of Strength. Second would be the Mace 360. The third, but you might already have the gear for it from doing the other types of training, would be the Turkish Get Up. So don't put like with like. You have cleans and squats on one day, you have hip snap on the other day. So something that forces you to stand all the way up would be the Basis of Strength program, because there's shield casts in it and because there's a ton of rotation in it. So when people are heavier than they would like to be, they tend not to be standing up all the way. They tend not to be straightening out their legs, their knees all the way. So rotating about the vertical axis tends to help dramatically. So Basis of Strength forces people to stand up. It forces people to rotate. The second most important one there would be going to Mace, which is probably cheaper and more available. But you cannot do Mace 360s without standing all the way up, and you will start to rotate your ankles, your knees, and your hips and your spine, which will cause people to stand up taller and taller and taller over time, which will get people the most bang for their buck. Pythonic inertia, always a great question. Mobility question. What do you consider to be essential mobility requirements for a regular person who wants to be fully functional, independent, and old age? Neck mobility, absolute most important thing. The thing that we see the most in people is deviated head structure. After that, rounded shoulders. That all starts with neck mobility. Then shoulder mobility. We have whole videos on this, and it's in almost every program, which forces people to get away from a rounded spine and forces people to stand all the way up. That is the point of the clean and press. And then the hip mobility, windshield wipers, shin box, and rock bottom squat. If you have those things, you're doing pretty well. After that, you add in the spinal rock series. You'll notice all these are buried inside of all of our basic programs because they are the most important things that people do for aging and for being out of pain. There's a lot of fancy mobility that people do for wrists and elbows and everything like that. I consider that substantially less important than neck, shoulder, hip, then spine, in that order. Edward, injury question. Has been doing our programs from Strong and Fit. Unfortunately, I've torn my meniscus a month ago doing BJJ, very common. BJJ, while being an awesome martial art and a pursuit that everybody should do, is hard on the body and it puts miles on the body. Any tips to getting back at it with clubs and kettlebells? Yes, go super light. If you've torn your meniscus and you've done your medical surgery and everything that has to happen, then the whole point of the ADEX is that it's useful forever. You can start with an uber lightweight. You can build up, and when you inevitably get hurt, because we all get hurt if you're doing anything athletic, you can rack all the way back down in weight and you can start to rebuild your movement. When you get hurt, you have something called fear reactivity, and it alters the way that you move. Your body becomes afraid and you stop moving. This is the process of aging. It's the beginning of a cumulative injury cycle. By doing something like the Strong and Fit program, which is the short, simple version of Basis of Strength, you go back to a light weight and you start light again, and then you might just rack right up back through it. And instead of doing 6 workouts per weight, you might take it all the way down to 4 pounds and then go 5.5 pounds and then add a 1.25 and walk your way up and do it 2 or 3 times a week. And if you were doing 30 pounds, it's going to take you 15 weeks to walk all the way back up. But as you do it with the super small loads, you will become unafraid. Your body will realize what ranges of movement it can still do. And the goal is to convince your body that all ranges of movement are still okay, so that you don't build weak spots and move around in injury, which is what a cumulative injury cycle is. Experienced in club swinging, seeking a rule of thumb to increase weight for building strength. Sets of 5? No, absolutely not. I wrote 3 programs on this. It's time under tension. This is Justin Coe. Building strength. If you're going to do sets of 5, you have to have monster weights and you have to have incredibly good technique already. The whole point of the time under tension protocol that is both in the BJJ Fanatic Strong and Fit program and in my much more large and much more thorough Basis of Strength program is that you need to gather experience points. Sets of 5 with a 25-pound club is nothing. You should be doing 20 reps inside of 30 seconds. It is a time under tension protocol unless you have monster clubs. I have a 70 here from Great Lakes Jira, and I'm going to get all of their monster clubs. And they go from 32 to 36 to 40 to 44 to 48 to I think 52. With that, you can do sets of 5 because now you're in the weight that's actually strength training. Up to 50 pounds, it's not strength training, it's strength endurance training, because it's simply not heavy enough to demand just sets of 5. And if you're doing just sets of 5, you're robbing yourself of the experience points necessary to perfect your technique. Program question from Pythonic Inertia. Are you familiar with Tom Morrison's simplistic mobility method? Never heard of it. If somebody wants to send me a link, I'll take a look at it. There's a lot of stuff out there. I'm not familiar with all of it at all. Seat set, equipment progression question. Would you program a waterfall gym ball differently than a sandbag? Yeah. How much water are you putting in? Some other things out there. Inertial wave, I think it might. No, that's a banded system. There's like a lifting log that's water filled. Yeah, I don't know if a water filled gym ball will take the stress of being dropped or slammed on the ground. I don't know. How would you train different than a sandbag? I just assume it's not going to be quite as heavy as a sandbag. But if you could get a 65 centimeter ball that was half filled with water and had 60 pounds of water in it, it would be awesome. Is that a product that's out there? Is it an easy one of those? It's easy to fill with water or not fill with water. Your average gym ball is not designed to be filled with water. I don't know. I need more information on that question. Let's scroll down here. Let's get closer to the bottom here. Let's start from the bottom and start working our way up. Um, Inner circle. Quick update. 216 from 336 pounds today. Day 292 of 600, 67 pounds to lose. Dropped 28 inches from the waist and fixed plantar fasciitis. That is the type of thing that I absolutely love to hear. People doing the work and rebuilding the structure. The thing that I like hearing most in that statement from Inner Circle is the fixed plantar fasciitis. If you have plantar fasciitis, it means that your feet really, really hurt and you are unlikely to want to move because the feet hurt so much. Fixing plantar fasciitis means that the arch of the foot is working substantially better, which means the ankle is working better, which means the knee is working better, which means the hip is working better, which means everything can get better from there. If you don't have a strong connection to the ground, it's very hard to move up athletically. This is one of the big problems that I see in most weight loss programs. Nobody is addressing that. They just have people jump around and try to burn as many calories as possible. Burning calories doesn't really work because it doesn't really work the way people want it to work. Let me clarify that. Because most people are putting way too much stress on an already stressed system and they get hurt and then they quit. Inner Circle sounds like they have done an excellent job. The fixed plantar fasciitis means that they have done an excellent job because they have built their structure from the ground up in order to support more athletic training. That is the point. That is what training for deconditioned or overweight people should be. It should be structural building so that they can move forward towards the things that burn more calories. Structure first, calorie burn second, instead of calorie burn and assuming structure will show up. That's where we get a mad amount of failure in the training world, is that idea right there. And so I am super judgy when it comes to other trainers. And if I see people with a weight loss program that's a bunch of jumping around, I instantly check out forever. And I'm very unlikely to ever look at anything they do ever again, because I fundamentally think that I don't think that they care about their outcomes. I think that they're in for the money. And I don't think that that's good. I think that the most important thing should be outcomes and teaching people concepts so that they can move forward forever. There should be no 6-week program for weight loss. There is a 6-year program for weight loss. He's got 600 days laid out, it looks like, Inner Circle does. That's what we want to see. That's how people do it. It's a little bit at a time and it gets better. Our training for overweight and deconditioned individuals will be similar to that. It's going to be uh, a 4-week program that repeats the most important things with a bunch of different types of equipment to build people's familiarity with what they really need to do was train with the most economic things to move them to intro to kettlebell so that they can build their movement patterns and build their confidence so that they can get to something like swings without getting hurt, so they can get to clean and press, so they can get to all the other stuff. The whole systems should be integrated, and Inner Circle has done the work, and I should probably have Inner Circle message me. I would love to see the notes on all of that so I can see what really worked and what they focused on and what needs to happen. I've rewritten my training for overweight individuals program several times after giving it to people to have them work on different types of things with different equipment because I'm trying to get the cheapest, best possible outcome. C-set. Let's go back to the water ball question. A 65 centimeter gym ball filled with water. He's going to post it on Discord. Sure. I mean, train with it outside. With that much water in it, we're putting, 50 to 100 pounds of water inside of that thing. I don't know when you're going to reach the elastic limit of that that object. They are meant to hold, a lot of them are rated for 500 pounds of compression load. The good ones are. I don't know if that translates to movement coming from the inside out in waves. I don't know. There's all kinds of weird graph force vectors going on in there that I'm unaware of. But if it works, it'll be awesome. And I will talk about that forever. And we will start using that immediately in everything. So, seed set, let me know how that works. My hot pocket is ready. Yes, that was a circus performer who was messaging me about something. I did not put it on no notification. Zach Breaker. Sorry, I'm messing up your name, Zach. Program question. I have mentioned a 4-level club program. Is this something that you might release as a standalone or as an add-on to Basis of Strength? So the club program works in different ways. The Strong and Fit one, which is eventually going to be reshot with substantially better camera work, is the 3-level version. It is the quick, dirty version of club training to bring people up. The 4-level version, it's 4 times 7, it's 28 movements. So the simple one is 15 movements. The 4-level is 28 movements. Basis of Strength is 56 movements. So they move in complexity, and I use these different programs based on who I'm training and how much time they have. The one for Strong and Fit was the quickest, dirtiest version of it. The 4-level is the one that I use the most for actors because it has a couple of things in it, footwork wise, that aren't in the simplest version. And the big version is the one that tends to get used for models because they don't want to go up in weight and they want to move better and better and better. We will eventually record the 4-level version of it so that people can pick which one they want to work on. Yeah, it'll come. It's the one that I use the most for movies. If I was going to work on an action movie, that's the one that I tend to use because it's halfway between the simple and the super complex one. So we get 7 families of movements in, and we can rack up in weight faster. Not as fast as the simple one, but faster than the light one, twice as fast as the light one. So it allows people to add more muscle in a less amount of time. Let's find another question. We've had a bunch here. Um, Here's a good question from Dimitar Andreev. Andreev. Kettlebell question. He is doing kettlebell swings, clean and press, Turkish get up, awesome, squats, killing it. Am I missing out by not doing specific pulling movements, which is fundamental human movement? Should I include pull-ups or kettlebell rows in my program? Yeah. The reason we talk about kettlebells is because they don't require any special equipment. I think pull-ups are amazing. You'll notice I don't really have a pull-up body right now because I haven't done pull-ups in 3 years because I don't have anywhere to really do pull-ups. Pull-ups are a fairly equipment heavy exercise. You can get the door frame pull-ups. That's what I used to use when I was a kid. But me hanging my knees are 1 inch off of the ground in a door frame. So you can't really do a lot of the fun pull-up stuff. Really, a pull-up bar should be your standing height, standing on toes, hands overhead, and you should have at least 2 inches under your toes. That puts a pull-up bar for me really high, higher than most people are going to get inside of a space that they control, like an apartment or a house. You would need an externally mounted pull-up bar on the outside of a building, like a barn or a garage, in order to really get the most out of pull-ups. And then that tends to be an equipment cost. You're looking at a $300 pull-up bar, especially for somebody my size who's topping in the 240 pounds. And the second you introduce some type of swinging or hand changing in there, you're going to be loading it in a bunch of dynamic ways. So yes, are you missing out by not doing pull-ups? Yeah. Pull-ups are amazing and you should definitely be doing them. They just are harder for people to do. And if people aren't in good shape, then they tend not to be able to start to do them. Do pull-ups. Do pull-ups twice a week. Do 100. I used to do 100 pull-ups every day and 500 push-ups. It just took forever. I dropped pull-ups a long time ago when I was doing circus stuff because I couldn't do kettlebells, clubs, fight training, and circus. I did aerial, so it was all climbing and pull-ups. Simply too much. So I replaced pull-ups for years with infinite level complexity climbing, which is aerial rope or aerial silk. If you could do that, do that. But now you're looking at a much more difficult equipment. Now you're looking at a minimum 18 to 20 foot ceiling. Even to do something like static trapeze, I am looking at least 17, 18 feet. Granted, my new studio is going to have that, and I did dig out my trapeze. So hopefully we can start doing some rad stuff. But yes, you should have pull-ups in there. We tend not to talk about it because it's equipment heavy. It's harder for people to do. You can do kettlebells in a closet. Rows, I don't really care that much about rows unless it's a part of Metcon. You're going to get way more out of swings, way more out of clean, way more out of long cycle, and way more out of snatch than you do out of rows. I tend to drop kettlebell rows unless it's Metcon because the amount of lat stabilization I'm getting from heavy club training is a lot. But you will see probably my body shape change as I get back into the new studio because I will actually be able to do circus again. My good friend, who's a stunt performer and a circus friend of mine for 10 years, you'll see her in all of my old Instagram stuff, is just chomping at the bit to get in there and start doing aerial again because she lost her aerial space when I lost my aerial space because it was my space. But she's already trying to get me to dedicate time when we're back in LA to just doing pure aerial the way we used to do. Aerial hammock is the most fun, easiest one. Trapeze is going to be super hard after 3 years off. I'm really at 4 years off because I didn't do it in 2019 because I was on a movie in Romania. But I have a custom trapeze bar. Trapeze should be the width of your hips. Mine are huge, plus your hands. That's how wide your bar is. I don't fit it on a standard trapeze bar at all, so mine's custom. But we're going to get that up. We bought a forklift so that we can reach the ceiling so that we can do cool shit. The new studio space is going to be rad. It's going to be me in there doing seminars. There's a metal shop there for armor building, full contact armor for like knights fighting, full contact armored fighting league, and special effects. So we'll probably get to branch out into doing all kinds of cool stuff that we would like to do, like recreating fight scenes from movies with special effects. It just depends on how much time we have, but that's what we want to do. Clint Angle, simunition. That's the word I was looking for earlier. There's a specific company name, Universal Training Munitions, UTMs. That's it. When we were talking about force on force training with airsoft, airsoft is a cheap way to do it, but you will rip airsoft guns in half fighting over them. I've gone through several of these training airsoft clocks already, from grabbing them and fighting with them, right? The amount of torque that you create when you're fighting over a gun is a lot. I'm much more comfortable doing that with an airsoft gun than with a UTM gun. UTM gun, you're probably not going to break, but it's much dicier safety wise. Let's do a couple more here. VP, thank you for donating 5. Is that euro or pound? Do you have any exercises against thoracic outlet syndrome, or better said, something to activate subclaviculis and slightly rounded shoulder? Yeah, almost everything we do. Almost everything we do is designed to counteract that. All MACE 360 exercises, all mill exercises, and we should probably put in some like ground touch Supermans. If you send me that question, we should make a video on that, because people ask me that question a lot. I should make a dedicated video. So VP, if you could send me a DM about that, then let's make that video. Why not? There's like 10 basic body weight warm-ups you can do before you do your mace in your club in order to help people counteract rounded shoulders. All right, guys, it is 1:47. We've been doing this in now 2 streams for about 2 hours. We're at 58 minutes on this one plus the other one. I have to go out and shoot videos so that there's more YouTube content coming out. Thanks, guys, for showing up. We had some really interesting questions today. We kind of got into some weird movie stuff with the center axis relock, firearms talk, but that is specifically related to defensive training as well. And that idea does stack directly inside of heavy club swinging, mace swinging, and kettlebell swinging. And if people have more questions on that idea, there's not many center axis guys out there still. The other guy I knew who went through the training with me was an armorer in Hollywood, and he died suddenly last year. So there's not a lot of us floating around who still, I think, did the training with Paul Castle. I don't know how many there are. I know that there's still a Navy SEAL who was running a class pre-COVID, a 5-day class, which was super amazing. But these are all topics that we should know about. If people want to talk about that stuff, we can talk about that stuff. I've left all of that off of the channel thus far because we've been focusing on the most important things. But we can talk about this stuff forever. Guys, let me know. Discord guys, come up with a list of seminars, because I have a list of seminars. I want to see if they cross with what you guys say. And let's just all keep training. The more training we do, the better it is. You don't have to do all the training. You can do just clubs. You can do just kettlebells. The whole point is that we're covering a bunch of topics that I find interesting, and we can talk about it forever. Here, one more question from Dimitri Andreev, because it just showed up. If economics were not in the equation at all, by that I mean space to train, money, equipment, etc., what exercise selection would you do? It would still be kettlebells and clubs at its core, There would be some other fancy stuff in there, a little bit of other stuff in there. There would be like tramp wall training, which I see a lot more motorcycle training, and there would be a lot more force on force training. I would do all of that stuff. I would like some more equipment. I would love like a free motion machine to write programs around, but I just don't have that stuff, and it's unlikely that it will show up anytime soon unless somebody wants to convince people to give me a lot of gear. This has been Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica. Thanks for showing up.